Hi everyone, so today I'll be doing a review on the Kringle Candle 2-wick large tumbler in the scent Easter Brunch. This is their 22-ounce vessel, so my pour date is February 13th, 2025. The retail price of this is $34, but I might have picked this up either during the 30% off after Easter sale or the 50% off after Easter sale. So anyways, these candles are 100% soy, like all Kringle candles. However, I do want to make a note that for 2026, they will be coming out in smaller vessels. So those will be 16.5 ounces, and those will be for 2-wick tumblers, retailing $26. The burn time is 85 hours, so that's a decrease from the large tumblers, so from 100 to 85. Anyways, the fragrance notes for Easter Brunch are top, sweet, almond, middle, butter, vanilla, base, cream, and vanilla. So anyways, the first thing that I thought when I read these fragrance notes or when I saw these fragrance notes, I was curious if I were or if I was going to pick up any cherry nuances, because oftentimes almond is associated with cherry, whether that is like a cherry almond body care or like an amaretto syrup perhaps. I do have to say that if you do not like cherry scents at all, or how some almond fragrances lean cherry like, I don't detect any cherry from this, which I'm happy. This does smell fully 100% edible. There's no underlying like perfumey notes, musk. This isn't conceptual. So I'm really happy with that because the smell is 100% gourmand. I skipped over the label, but the label will be the same for 2026, however, much smaller. So you have a dinner fork and a knife with some very pretty, I guess, like plating accents. Anyways, I love these Easter speckled jars. It's great to reuse them. However, I do have to say that with the performance that I'm getting, it's a lot easier to tell when there's soot. And a little bit of a preview, there is soot on the inside ridges of this vessel. But briefly back to the candle fragrance. Yeah, I'm very happy that there are no cherry nuances. However, when I first smelled it, I do have to say that this wasn't an immediate love. It smelled artificial to me because when I smell bread in wax, that almost immediately comes across to my nose as like fake bread, or like I know that this bread is in a wax format. Oftentimes I find that with like the fresh baked bread fragrance oil, specifically if you're familiar with Candles by Victoria. Though I do have to say that the kind of bread almond pastry note in here is different from those typical yeasty, like flaky fragrances. I compared this when I was smelling it a lot to Bath and Body Works' almond croissant, and I do feel like they smell very different. So if you like one, you might not like the other one. The fragrance notes to almond croissant read toasted almonds, vanilla glaze, flaky croissant. And I think the main difference is that toasted almond note, because to me, Easter brunch does not smell like toasted almonds. These almonds smell like they are incorporated very well into that butter vanilla note. Easter brunch is a lot creamier, smoother. It almost reminds me, if it is an almond croissant, it's a very fluffy, kind of bouncy bread, versus the almond croissant candle from Bath and Body Works. I picture more the outside layer crunch. There's maybe even like toasted almonds on top of the croissant. I don't get much of the vanilla glaze in the Bath and Body Works one, but when I smelled this, it almost turned my stomach, and I think it's because, oh, my dad's leaf blowing right now, so hopefully you can't hear that. But I think it's mostly because it's so buttery and vanilla rich that if I smell this on an empty stomach, it almost turns my stomach a little bit. So it's not that salty bread, it's not yeasty. I would say that if you like a puffy, buttery, heavy vanilla bread, this is perfect for you. Do I get a ton of almond? Not so much. It is detectable. It's one of the main notes, but it's not overwhelmingly just like one single note. But it is, again, 100% gourmand, and I do appreciate it. This is one of those fragrances that I kind of grew to like, but not love, if that makes sense. But strength on cold, because I'm kind of rambling, I would give it a solid 7 or 8 out of 10. It was very detectable. However, I do have to make that caveat noted that there was something about it that I kind of disliked from the get-go. So I think it's one of those instances where if you dislike the fragrance or if there's something that um, really stands out to you, you can smell it even if it is on the lighter side. All right, so here's an overhead view of my candle. I've currently had this burning for 2 hours. And unlike lemon sugar marshmallow that came out in this collection for 2025, that one I had issues with the candle pulling out. This one is different in that it pulls out within an hour, which is standard for the Kringle candles I typically burn. I do smell it after about 15-20 minutes. And I think that is because, again, I'm very honed in on the scent because it's not a scent that I love, but I don't dislike it either. I mean, I kind of did initially, but anyways, I thought this was going to be a powerhouse scent, but I think that the projection of this candle is better than the strength of it. So the strength of the candle, I'd give it closer to like a 6.5 to a 7 out of 10 versus the projection, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I'm burning this in my medium-sized bedroom. There's no AC or heater going on, and I am at the end of a hallway. I feel like this travels all the way to the kitchen, but it's one of those fragrances that you get like little whiffs of it, but it's not overwhelmingly strong as it is where the candle is located, where you're burning it. So I do have to say that the fragrance is a bit concentrated closer to the candle, but it does a good job at pushing out the fragrance when it's initially pulling out. In the overhead view, you might see that there's a little bit of a mushroom top, and I think that that's the biggest issue that I have with this candle is that the flames are burning very hot and fast. So I have been limiting my burn time to just under 3 hours. I think one time I pushed it to 4 hours, and I do have a bit of soot starting to form around the like the top rim of my candle. However, again, I've been trimming my wicks each and every burn, which initially I was a bit hesitant to do that because lemon sugar marshmallow has been not suffering from puny flames, but it has been burning weaker or like not as hot as this Easter brunch candle. So I do have to say that if you get this candle, or maybe you have the older 2025 version, they might have changed things. Obviously, different vessels, different wicks. I'm sure they tested it out. But the Easter brunch fragrance in this candle is burning hot. So I would just make a note that if you have this burning for 6 hours, you're probably going to get soot. I don't leave my candles or my Kringle candles or heck any candle burning for that long unless it has serious issues like a la Yankee Candle, Village Candle, and others. But this one, yeah, I do have like one decent sized mushroom top in the wax. Again, main issues is that there is a little bit of soot that is catching around the edges of the wax, and that is because the flames are burning very strong. So I think that's what's causing the soot. But I think if you decrease your burn time, that should solve that problem. And for sure, this is a candle that you should trim your wicks each and every time. No issues pulling out. I haven't seen visible instances of soot, but right now I've only burned about a fourth of the candle and I'm already seeing it collect around the edges. Let me change the angle so you can get like a little bit of a closer look. All right, so if you can see from this angle, it might not come across on video that well, but like especially right here on this side, you do see the bit of soot right here. Again, I've only had this burning for about 2 hours and it's already mushrooming. So yeah, these flames are burning very strong. Let's see, is there anything on my finger? Just a little bit, but yeah, I'm not doing it justice, but there is a little bit of soot at the top of the candle, like in this area. But one thing that I like about it is that because the flames are burning very high, it does a good job at illuminating the vessel. Overall, I feel like Easter Brunch is a decent gourmand candle. While I'm not getting like a strong fragrance, I definitely have to say that it is projecting extremely well across my room, the adjacent hallway, and it's trying to travel into the kitchen. But again, that scent itself isn't like a powerhouse scent is what I'm trying to say. I think that you would like this if, let's say, you've tried other bread fragrances and you haven't liked those because they lean salty or yeasty or maybe even too toasted, I think this one is a good, like a fluffier, creamier bread fragrance. It's not overly sweet. It almost smells like when you go to those, I would say like coffee shops, and they sometimes have those breads or like croissants that they use with their like sausages or like egg and cheese and all that. This leans more savory to me than it does sweet. So it wasn't an outright love, but it's not an outright hate. So would I repurchase this? I would say only if it went on sale, but for the full price of what is it going to be? $26. I think it will be a pass for now, but it's definitely a scent that I grew to like it a bit more each time as I'm burning. Again, just I don't know if this issue was addressed, but my 2025 pour is burning a bit hot. So there is not visible soot that I see, but I noticed that the soot is accumulating on the inside jar vessel, and the light colored, almost like a tan label color, is kind of really helping me see that versus like, let's say if this was in a reserve like Kringle candle jar, which leans black, it disguises anything. And yeah, I'm noticing that soot collection, and I've only burned this maybe like a fourth of the way down. But anyways, yeah, I think that this is the scent also that I can't really burn super early in the morning, or I have to eat before I burn this because it is very buttery, vanilla heavy. So again, it still does that and does that where it turns my stomach a little bit. But always you can use this as a blender scent. I think it would go well with the almond croissant candle from Bath and Body Works. They're very different though. So I would maybe mix it with like another fruity fragrance perhaps. I would personally maybe burn this with a blueberry candle just to get like a blueberries and bread type of scent going. But anyways, yeah, that has been my overall experience. Would I recommend this candle? I would say yes, but however, it is burning a bit stronger. And I feel like despite that it's burning stronger, it's not a powerhouse scent as I would have originally thought. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you have a great day. Okay, bye.